To enter Hawkeye Academy, you have to be a girl or become one, but that's about to change with the arrival of a new student. Nomura, our intrepid protagonist, lands in this feminine domain with a mischievous smile and an attitude of "I won't be intimidated." He quickly crosses paths with one of the local beauties.
She's beautiful.
Who gives him a quick lesson on how things are handled here. Hawkeye Academy is under the rule of girls, led by a group known as the Swords, and these girls are not here to play around. Meet Rin, the sharp leader of the Swords, carrying a sword bigger than her sense of humor. She identifies Nomura as a dangerous criminal who managed to beat up 40 guys in his previous school. Yes, 40. So, when Nomura appears on her radar, Rin decides it's time to set the rules. It's submission or exile. But Nomura chooses option C, he leaves. But before you can blink, Rin takes her sword and launches a direct attack. But don't worry, our guy is more than an easy prey. Nomura, with envy-worthy gloves, blocks the attack like a superhero. The fight turns into a spectacular duel, and Nomura shows that he not only has power, but also has style. With a ninja-worthy twist, he sends Rin flying through the air. After the fight, our friend tries to make amends with her, but before he can continue talking, a girl arrives and hits him on the head, causing them to accidentally kiss.
Sensational.
In an attempt to fix things, Nomura manages to get a box of chocolates and presents it to Rin. However, his true motive is to get a card that would allow him to occasionally leave the school. This coveted card can only be granted by the leader of the Swords. So, upon entering her room, he hands over the sweet gift and makes his request. But of course, the sword-bearing leader won't give it up so easily. However, when our protagonist adds an unexpected twist by saying he would like to spend time with her outside of school, something strange happens. Mysteriously, she agrees. Lastly, Nomura takes an even bolder step, suggesting that he could reward her with a few kisses. This leaves her so surprised that she faints, and just at that moment, luck intervenes, and another girl enters, catching him in a rather unfavorable situation. Our friend runs throughout the school to avoid being caught by the other girls, but on his way, he crosses paths with another member of the Swords called Choka. To make matters worse, another sword named Nano joins the fight. With no choice, Nomura has to fight them both, and the battle begins. At first, Choka's whip manages to injure him, but gradually he starts to realize the pattern of their attacks. On the other hand, Nano tries to attack him with her staff, but having the same fighting style as Rin, Nomura knows how she will attack, and after a moment, he manages to activate his breathing technique and defeat both of them. However, this victory tastes like defeat because all the girls in the academy look at him with disdain. And the next day, Rin is waiting for him in the classroom to tell him that from that day on, she will be watching over him to keep him in line. Amidst all of this, a girl named Mary, who is Choka's older sister, is desperate to correct our friend's behavior. The next day, while Rin and Nomura are talking, she arrives to try and fight Nomura. Rin warns her not to do it because he is under her care, and only she can hit him. But despite the warning, Mary goes ahead and confronts Rin. Meanwhile, Nomura runs and faces Choco once again. Poor Choco thought she could win, but once again, she is defeated, this time by Nomura's Titan. While all of this is happening, Nomura sees the Empress of the Academy, the only person who has been able to defeat all the Swords. To add more mystery, when he sees her, he immediately remembers the only person who has beaten him, Amo. Nomura knows that she is that person, so he goes to her and asks how she ended up in the Academy. However, the Empress replies that it's the first time she's seeing him. She wants to face him, but she knows that if she does it without a plan, he will defeat, so she leaves. Remember when she said she didn't know him? Well, it turns out that was a lie. She's actually Amo, but for some reason, she doesn't want Nomura to know. Returning to our friend, after defeating Choco, it's now time to defeat her older sister, and what about Rin? Well, she was defeated as well. She attacks him with her sword, and just like before, our friend is at a disadvantage. But this time, things go too far, and it seems like the girl has dealt a lethal blow. But don't worry, our friend uses his otaku power, and with a manga, he manages to stop the attack and win the fight. Mary is disappointed by her loss, so she awaits her punishment. However, to her surprise, Nomura is not that kind of guy. He won't do anything if forced to do so, but if she wants to give him a gift, let it be a seal that allows him to leave the school. This is where Mary plays a masterful move and puts the seal on second base. Seeing this, Nomura is about to take the seal, but his determination is stronger. We're proud of you, champion.
Well done.
Realizing that Nomura is not like other guys, Mary decides to give him the seal. Now, there are only 3 seals left, but problems for Nomura don't stop because another member of the Swords arrives, Warabi. This girl is crazier than the previous ones because she wants to correct not only Nomura but also Rin and Mary. She believes that the 2 girls are being dominated by our friend, and thus she initiates her evil plan. This plan involves an Olympics where the 3 of them will compete against their subordinates. If she wins, he will leave the academy. but if she loses, she will give him her seal. By the way, take a look at how they left Busou F in the chat for this beautiful lady. The first game begins, and it consists of a sumo fight. The first participant is Nomura, but there's a small issue. He won't be facing any of Warabi's subordinates, he'll be facing Winnie the Pooh. Nomura starts with his strategy and uses his breathing technique to push the bear out of the ring. However, this time he'll need more than that to win. He tries his attack again and, with all his strength, manages to lift the bear. But as he's doing this, Winnie the Pooh's belt loosens and the bear falls to the ground. Ironically, this is what gives Nomura the victory. Since the bear's belt touched the ground, it's considered disqualified. First victory for Nomura's team. Now, Warabi changes her plan and ends the Olympics. She tells our friend to go to the school rooftop to receive his prize. Obviously, it's a trap. Rin and Mary warn him, but Nomura insists that he gave his word to go there and he has to do it. The girls now have a different impression of him. They no longer see him as a threat or an enemy, and for these reasons, they decide to go with him. The boys run, and as they're almost there, they encounter a very skilled girl with a sword. However, this time she's not there to stop them. In fact, she clears the way for them. The final battle will be a team effort. While Rin and Mary's apprentices fight the other boys, our friends reach the rooftop where Warabi is. This is where the ultimate battle takes place. Things don't go very well for our friends initially, but Nomura won't give up, and he doesn't believe his friends will either. So, he gives them words of encouragement and thanks them for accompanying him. These words are just what the girls needed. Thanks to their teamwork, they managed to defeat everyone. Finally, Warabi accepts her defeat and Nomura receives his third seal. The next day, everything has changed at the academy. Due to his impressive victory, all the girls in the academy are amazed by Nomura, and when I say all, I mean truly all. Rin and Mary are also more infatuated with him. They try to make themselves look better than usual so he will notice, but we know that Nomura isn't one to pick up on details. The day goes by, and he doesn't notice the changes in the girls. At night, for some reason, our friend is really tired, and just like us, Busou suspects that something is wrong. And indeed, we were right, because the next morning, Nomura wakes up with high energy and finally realizes the changes in the girls. This makes them blush, but things take a turn when they check him as usual and find a compromising photo in his pocket. Nomura runs away, telling them he doesn't know how that happened, and he's telling the truth, he doesn't even know how that photo came to be. He reaches a hallway and encounters Warabi, who now has some respect for him. She helps him hide from the girls. In this moment of calm, she tells him that Satori, the girl in the photo, wants to ruin his reputation. What better way than to erode his friend's trust in him? But he shouldn't worry, she will help him resolve this. Nomura's plan is to let the girls catch him. This way, the commotion will calm down momentarily. After enduring a brief torture session, Warabi comes to his rescue, and together they go to Satori's room to find evidence that could help them. However, finding nothing, they decide to go to the bathroom. Maybe it wasn't a good idea, because they are greeted by Satori's right-hand person, and a few seconds later, Satori herself appears with a determined look in her eyes. She explains to him that her plan is working perfectly because now all the girls have lost confidence in him, and like a good villain, he recounts how everything happened. So let's go back in time. Remember the most beautiful woman in this anime? Well, Busou put a tranquilizer in Nomura's food. When Satori arrived, he was already deeply asleep. He prepared himself, took out the camera, and took the photos, but just at that moment, Nomura managed to wake up. Although it didn't help much because through a kiss, she managed to give him another sleeping pill. Returning to the present, Satori shows him the USB drive where she has all the photos. If he manages to get them, he can prove his innocence. So, without further ado, the battle begins. Nomura against Satori and Warabi against the masked girl. Since Satori controls many fighting styles, it's quite difficult for Nomura to keep up with her movements, but in the midst of chaos, he remembers that there has always been something that has helped him in risky situations, none other than his Titan. Our friend prepares himself, and his plan works because the girl is super surprised. And this time when she attacks him, Nomura manages to stop her and deliver the final blow.
Fatality.
Although Satori has lost, she still has the photos and threatens to throw them into the water, but to her surprise, Nomura is the one who throws them into the water. He doesn't care that she spread false rumors about him. What matters to him is that she made Rin cry. Upon hearing this, Satori tells him that was a beautiful response. Nomura extends his hand to make amends and manages to gain the trust of another sword. After the fight, the fifth sword, Inaba, arrives and, along with her assistant, takes the girls to the infirmary. A few seconds later, she comes to capture Nomura because, in case I hadn't mentioned it, she has super hearing and can know everything that happens in the school. Inaba searches for him in the area, but Satori manages to hide him in a special place. After Inaba leaves, Satori advises him not to confront her because he has no chance of winning. She is the most powerful sword. Nomura thinks that remains to be seen and goes to his room, but due to all the fatigue his body has endured, our friend falls unconscious. But a few hours later, he wakes up in the infirmary next to Satori, while Rin tries to sleep but can't because she can't stop thinking about Nomura, so she decides to go see him. But on the way, she encounters Mary, who had the same plan. Neither of them wants the other to know that they want to see Nomura, so a competition begins to see who can withstand drinking tea the longest so the other will go back to her room. Just when both were at their limit, Satori arrives to tell them that Nomura is in the infirmary. She also tells them that they fought, and Nomura hit her a lot. Knowing this, Nomura hopes that Rin will get even more angry with him, but when she arrives, the first thing she does is apologize. In reality, Satori did tell them the whole truth, she was just joking. Embarrassed by everything she did, Rin asks him to punish her, to do whatever he wants. Nomura tells her to close her eyes and lift her face. Rin thinks this is all about a kiss, but in reality, he just wanted to remove her mask. From the beginning, he couldn't understand why someone as beautiful as her would wear a mask, so Rin tells him the truth. When she was a child, her father cheated on her mother and left home. Her mother, upon seeing her face, only remembered the man who had deceived her. So, to stop that from happening, she put a mask on Rin. She grew up her whole life thinking she wasn't worthy of removing it. Even when she came to the academy, she didn't feel ready to do it. But when he arrived and told her she was beautiful, she felt secure about her appearance for the first time. Nomura returns her mask because, even though he wants to break it, he knows that she should be the one to do it. She should do it when she's ready. Then, after she shared part of her life with him, he shares part of his. It turns out that Nomura is an orphan. The person who adopted him was obsessed with martial arts and was always testing him to the point of exhaustion. But despite it all, he holds no grudges. Yes, my friends, Nomura has no enemies. After the confessions, Mary arrives and also apologizes to him, saying she's ready for any punishment he wants to give, but our friend isn't interested. The next day, Nomura returns to his room and finds Kasu, the one who betrayed him. Kasu knows that Nomura knows everything and, very embarrassed, asks him what he thinks of him, if he thinks he's a miserable person. But Nomura is not the type to hold grudges. He knows he did it to maintain peace in the boys' dormitory. All he thinks of him is that he's a good friend. Long live friendship.
My best friend.
A few days later, things get complicated because the Empress has disappeared, which means she's planning something. Inaba knows this and goes to tell the director. The situation seems so serious that classes are suspended, and the search for the Empress begins. Warabi knows that something bad is about to happen, so she searches everywhere with all her might. While doing so, she begins to wonder what the Empress's first move will be and whom she will attack first. All her questions lead to one name, Satori, and she's right because while the masked girl was on the rooftop with her sister, the Empress comes for her. She's very upset about the photo she took with Nomura. Does she like him too? Satori knows that the fight can't be avoided, so she starts attacking first. But it's futile because the Empress shows why she's considered the strongest. Satori's sister tries to do something to stop her, but all attempts are in vain. Just when she's about to finish Satori, her sister intervenes and sacrifices herself for her. Warabi arrives at the scene, but it's already too late. However, there's no time to lose. She, along with her bear, launches an attack. But even though they're two, they're no match for the Empress.
This is the end.
Meanwhile, Nomura feels that something bad is happening. But he doesn't have time to think about it because he meets Ibana. Now that he only needs one seal left, he decides to ask her for it. But Kasu warns him that it's madness, he shouldn't approach her. And we see why. Ibana doesn't hurt him, but she reveals that the director has now put him under her care because he has exceeded the allowed infractions. The first one for entering Rin's room, the second for fighting with Satori, and the third for not answering her calls. Moreover, she's now his supervisor because she is much stronger than him, and it's time for him to find out why. Ibana uses the sword technique, and because she is blind, her other senses have sharpened to the point where she can create a mental map of everything around her. Essentially, it's like Daredevil. Nomura listens to the explanation, but as he does, he hears Warabi's screams, and without hesitation, he rushes to her aid. When he arrives on the rooftop, he finds her severely injured, and the director also shows up. Nomura asks what he can do to help, and she points him in the direction of where the Empress is with Rin and Mary. The girls plan to stop her right there, but like the others, they are also defeated. The last hope lies in Ibana. She tells the Empress that she won't let her continue hurting her friends. The battle between two true beasts begins. Ibana launches an attack, and for the first time, someone manages to wound the Empress. But let's not celebrate victory just yet, because even though she manages to harm her, the Empress also succeeds and even breaks her sword. The Empress is about to deliver the final blow, but right at that moment, Namura arrives to save Ibana. The most anticipated battle is about to begin. But to understand it better, let's go back to Namura's first day of school. To start his day on the right foot, Namura defended a boy from his attackers. Amu witnessed this, and initially, they got along quite well. In fact, she herself told him that they were friends. However, one day, the same boy Namura had defended told him that as a thank you gesture, he would give him a tour of the entire school. At that moment, Amu arrived and said she would give him the tour instead, but to her surprise, Namura told her that he already had plans with someone else. When she saw this, she didn't hesitate to put an end to the boy, with Namura telling him that he should only associate with people who are worth it. But for our friend, things don't work that way, and from that moment on, the two of them hate each other. Returning to the present, Namura is quite uncertain about whether he can defeat her or not. But unlike past occasions, he now has friends who trust him, people who appreciate him. All of this gives him courage, and with Ibana's advice, our friend is ready for the battle. In the other corner, the Empress reveals her true feelings. Her life has always been gray, but the moment she saw Namura, everything changed. His brightness was so intense that it brought color into her life. But she wants him only for herself, no one else can have him. So, to achieve that, she will eliminate him herself. Get comfortable because the most anticipated battle in the anime is about to begin.
Heavy machine gun, rocket launcher, shotgun, firebomb, super grenade. Oh, big. Okay. Thank you.
A few moments later.
After the battle, Namura is left severely wounded, and on top of that, he receives the news that he will be expelled from the academy. For this reason, he goes to say goodbye to the girls. When saying goodbye to Ibana, she tells him that Amu decided to leave the academy on her own. Upon hearing this, Namura wants to go talk to her, but Ibana reminds him that until his expulsion paperwork is completed, he is still a student. In other words, he is not allowed to leave the academy unless he has the 5 seals of the swords. Thanks to Ibana giving him her seal, Namura manages to catch up with Amu. He proposes that they leave together, but she responds that she understands he must find his own path. Although she loves him, she knows she must let him go. Before leaving, she kisses him and tells him to tell all the girls in the academy that he is hers, and that will never change. After the farewell, Namura encounters Rin and Mary. Our friend also wants to say goodbye to them. But before he does, they give him the good news that the director has decided he can stay at the academy, but with the condition that they will be his caregivers. So, just like at the beginning of the anime, she asks him which option he chooses, to be under their orders or to leave the academy. But Namura once again chooses the option to do what he wants and have fun with his friends. Minutes later, he arrives at the academy where everyone is waiting for him. Namura has found true friends. Applause for this man who managed to change an entire academy. Thank you so much for sticking around to this part of the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. It would really help me out. My name is Alex, and I wish you a wonderful day, evening, or night. With nothing more to say, bye-bye.